I will holler, yell, scream, shout, jump up and down. I will call you dummy. Some of you will cry. But there's a reason for that. This is the only sport, by the payment of an entry fee, with no training whatsoever, you can go in the ring and compete with a professional. There is no other sport. You want to play golf with Tiger Woods? You have to pass a test. You want to play tennis in a tournament with Andre Agassi? You have to pass the test. You want to ride open jumpers at a horse show? You have to have some training. Not so with dog shows. Dog shows, you have a puppy? Oh, Golden Retriever Club, going to have a specialty. I'm going to go. Send in your $25, and you walk in the ring with somebody that earns their livelihood showing dogs. There is no other sport that you can do that. Those professionals are not going to are not going to lower their standards so that you can be competitive. That means one thing: you got to raise your standards. And that's what we're going to do. When you walk out of here tomorrow afternoon, you will be competitive. The first step we take is we take the word can't out of your vocabulary. It is a dirty, filthy, 4.5-letter word. You can do it, but you've been told for how long by agents that you can't do it, that they have to hire you. Wrong. You will not be allowed to use the word can't in this class. Has anybody here ever heard somebody say a professional handler has an advantage? Have you heard that? What is it? Well, they're known by the judges. Wrong. That's the kiss of death. If I saw a judge that I was showing under that day, I stay the heck away from him. Known by the judges. I could put a paper bag on my head and go out there and beat you 9 out of 10 times with a dog that's not half as good as yours. So that's wrong. Any other ideas? Yes, ma'am.
Are you looking at me?
Yeah.
Okay. They do it every day.
They do it every day. Wrong. Yes, ma'am? Confidence. No.
They groom better.
No, they don't groom better. Yes.
They know how to hide the dog's faults and present the good points.
No, a good handler will never attempt to hide a fault. Never hide a fault. Those judges are too smart. That's where you guys make mistakes. You try to hide faults. Show off the good points. Forget about the faults. The minute you get involved with faults, you're defeated before you ever walk in the ring. The minute you even think about one of your dog's faults, you lose. Yes, sir?
They know what the judge likes and dislikes.
No, that's not the reason why they have a... The professional has an advantage. I walked in the ring knowing I had an absolute distinct advantage when I walked that ring because I knew that you were going to make a mistake. I knew you were going to make a mistake. I was paid not to make a mistake. If I made a mistake, I wouldn't win. If I didn't win, nobody hired me. If nobody hired me, I couldn't play golf. My kids couldn't eat. My wife couldn't shop. In that order. Did you know you have an advantage over the professional? And you would rather, you won't accept it. You'd rather whine that the handler always wins. Do you know what that advantage is? Yes?
The dogs know us.
Unfortunately, the dogs, you don't know your dog. Within the first 30 seconds that you bring your dog in this ring, I know your dog better than you do. Just like most of you really don't know your kids. No, that's not the reason why. The advantage that the owner handler has over the professional, judges enjoy putting up owner handlers. Shock, isn't it? But stand around a dog show at the end of the day and you'll hear somebody say, hey, I put a dog up best of breed from the classes and it was shown by an owner and they actually did a good job. Think of if there were no owner handlers, there would be no majors. There would be no majors. Dog clubs would go broke. Judges don't want to put up the same people all the time. They don't want to do that. But you guys don't work hard enough at it. You'd rather whine. When I was showing dogs, I used to carry cheese crackers in my pocket. And I'd come out of the ring and somebody would be whining. And I'd hand them some cheese crackers and they'd say, what's that for? And I said, a little cheese to go with your wine. Did you know that you have another advantage over the professional? Can anybody tell me what that is? Yes, sir?
More time.
Yes, you have one dog. You have one dog. When I was showing dogs in my prime, I showed 35, 40 dogs a show. 150 shows a year. That's why my legs went bad. That's why I'm so short. Wore those little legs down. But you have one dog to deal with. Maybe two. Your dog should be better trimmed, better groomed, better trained, better presented than any professionals out there. But you won't do it. You won't do it. It's a whole lot easier to whine, isn't it? The handler always wins. Now, what I'm going to teach you, especially the training, is going to be very controversial. You're going to hear things and see me demonstrate things that goes against everything that you've been taught. But please give them a chance. They were very successful for me in my career and for thousands of my students. As of last weekend, 291 of my students have gone all breed best in show or won a specialty, best of breed, including 2 of my students that went best in show at Madison Square Garden. My oldest daughter, Jane, went best in show there with a Clumber Spaniel, 1996. And a young man that apprenticed under me, Doug Holloway, apprenticed under me for 5 years. He also went best in show there. So we do have a track record. Now, what is the first thing you do when you prepare a dog to show it? Train it. That's a novel idea. You know, how many times have you heard somebody say, well, we're not going to do well today. I put a lead on him for the first time this morning. Have you heard that? Well, that's stupid. That is very stupid. You have to train it. You have to train your dog to do an unnatural act. It is not normal for a dog to run around in circles, in the heat, in the cold, in the snow, in the rain, in the wind, underneath a floppy tent, and have a strange person put their cold hands on their body and enjoy that. That is not normal. That is not normal. You've heard somebody say, well, he's a natural show dog. There is no such animal. My oldest daughter, Jane, before she became a professional dog handler, she was a cytogeneticist at Johns Hopkins University Hospital doing research on chromosomes and genes. and she assures me that there is no gene for show dog. Your dog has to be a happy show dog or you will lose. You will lose. You will lose to a dog that's not as good as yours. But it has to be a happy show dog. The first paragraph of every standard discusses temperament and personality. Now, it being in the first paragraph, you would think that that was the most important part, wouldn't you? Yet how many dogs at dog shows go around the ring and they don't want to be there? You have to create a happy show dog or you will lose. Cold hard facts. You have to have some basic philosophy on training. Number one, positive reinforcement only. You reward your dog for doing something correctly. The only negative reinforcement you might use would be maybe the use of the word no. What you do is you show your dog what you want him to do. You then ask him to do it. You notice what the secret word there was? Ask. Any manager or executive can tell you you get better results asking than you do telling. And dogs are folks. So why shouldn't I work with a dog? You ask. You never, ever use food as a reward. Absolutely, positively, never. Food is very unreliable. When it's 105 degrees at Medina, Ohio show, outdoor show, with 100% humidity, and don't tell me it doesn't get there, I've been there, and you put a piece of food in front of your dog's face, he's going to laugh at you. It isn't going to work. So what do you use? You use a button. You use a button. Oh, I'm seeing a blank. I'm seeing blanks out there. Do you mind being on a video? No, you don't turn your head. Yeah.
I'm just observing, but
That's all right. Come here. They may cut this out anyway, but now come over here and stand and look in that direction. No, come here, come here. I'm not going to bite you. Okay. Now relax. Relax. Are you relaxed?
Not yet.
Relax. Relax. That, folks, is a button, right? Thank you. A button is anything your dog responds to. Pat on the head, tweak on the nose, pat on the fanny. I didn't do that. But it's something, you have mellow buttons, happy buttons, slow down buttons, go faster buttons. Your dog has a lot of buttons on it. And this is what you use. They give you an example of buttons. In 1971, I had an English Springer Spaniel that man brought to me and said, will I show it? And I said, sure. He says, can you win with it? And I said, yes. And he says, well, he carries his tail down like that. For anybody who doesn't know, an English Springer Spaniel with their tail going straight down, that's bad. And I found his button. If I pulled his chest hairs, he'd chase me around the ring with his tail up. And one pull on that chest hair was good for one time around the ring, for one time straight down back. Then we had to pull it again. #1 Springer in the country, multiple best in shows, multiple specialty shows. Turned out to be a great show dog. Never grew a lot of hair on his chest. The last dog I showed in my career was an Irish setter bitch. And she was a true bitch. She hated me. And she, first few shows I showed her, she slunk around the ring like I beat her. And I was trying to get up nerve to send her home to tell the owner. And we were at a show where there was a pond and 2 ducks came flying in. And for some unknown reason, I said, quack, quack. She says, that man has a duck. So I saw this, I put my hand underneath my jacket and I went, quack, quack. To the day she passed away, she thought that somewhere on my body I had a duck. And that if she followed everything that I asked, that I might let her have it. #1 Irish setter in the country, multiple best in shows, multiple specialties. Great show bitch. Champion Cloverleaf's Rebecca. Some of you may have seen her. All because of buttons. Also, don't praise your dog every time they do something correctly. Boy, that goes against what you've been taught, huh? The strongest, most potent form of reward is intermittent random reward, both with people and with animals. If they don't know when it's coming, they'll do everything in the world to please you and to listen to you. But if you praise them every time, then that one time you forget, they're going to write you off. They're going to write you off. Intermittent random reward. It has been proven by psychologists and psychiatrists that this is the strongest method of reward. Remember that. Yet, how many times you've been taught, when they do something right, always praise them? Forget it. Because you're not going to, otherwise when you're in the show ring, you're going to be praising your dog and petting them the whole time you're in the ring. That's pretty stupid. Okay, you can train a dog at any age. The learning curve at 6 weeks is exactly the same as 6 years. Except, absolutely, positively, no confirmation training while the dog is going through the teething process. All dogs start to teeth at approximately 12 weeks of age. Some breeds, like jackrats, your terriers, your toy breeds, they finish teething at about 6 months. Your larger dogs, giant breeds, they usually don't finish teething until they're a year old. During that period of time, absolutely, positively no training whatsoever. Yes, you may ask why. We have one person that asked why out of this whole group.
Because, I mean, that's when you're doing puppy training and obedience.
And you're ruining your dog.
Okay, and I know that the 12 weeks is where fear period many times crops up in a lot of breeds.
And it lasts until they finish teething. A dog going through the teething process has the concentration span of a demented gnat. Their mouth hurts, their jaw hurts, their teeth hurts, their hair hurts. You ever have a toothache? Your hair hurts. You ever try to read a book or concentrate on something when you had a toothache? Does it work? No. Why should it work with dogs? Dogs are folks, aren't they? Get that through your mind. Dogs are folks. They're not things. They're people. They have feelings. Also, too, during that period of time, their resistance is down, their tonsils are usually enlarged, and their glands are swollen. And they can't concentrate. So any training that you do is you're ruining your dog. Every problem dog that I got into show was the result of people doing training during teething. The best show dogs that I ever had, the best show dog that I ever showed, I didn't get till he was 4.5 years old. All I ever did was hunt fox for a living. Mr. Stewart's Cheshire Winslow. One of the greatest pure show dogs of any breed that ever lived. I showed him from 7 feet away, never laid a hand on him. No bait. And I could get him to move any foot, do anything. But he never had a lead on until after he was 4.5 years old. Don't ruin your dog. If you acquire your puppy after 12 weeks of age, yes, you have to teach them how to walk on a lead and some general manners, but that's it. Let it be. Let it be.
Suggest that we don't do that?
Yes, you can go out with a 6-month-old puppy and go in the ring and have fun with it. But most of you take your 6-month, 9-month-old puppy, you go in the ring, and you expect him to perform like that seasoned veteran that's been shown for 3 years. Go in the ring and have fun. The main thing is you want to see how they compare with other puppies and how they're going to acclimate to the show routine. That's fine. But don't take it to high competitive level or 4 shows in Cleveland, Ohio, what's known as the Christmas Classic, because you're going to ruin them. Expecting a puppy to perform perfectly is like taking a 13-year-old kid to the White House for a formal dinner and expect him to perform perfectly. It's not going to work. Your training session should never be longer than 10 minutes. Concentration span on the average dog is about 10 minutes, maybe, if you're lucky. That's your total window that that animal is going to accept anything new. And yet people go out there and they practice their obedience and they practice this and whatever, half an hour, 45 minutes, an hour maybe. And it's not going to work. 10 minutes total. Now, you can have more than one session a day. You can have one in the morning, one in noon, one in the afternoon. That's perfectly okay. Never combine stack training and gait training in the same lesson. You can teach any dog to stack in 5 minutes. Any dog. You can teach any dog to gait in 5 minutes. I don't care what dog it is. 5 minutes, that's all. But the hardest thing for a dog to understand is not how to stack, not how to gait, but the transition between the two. It is very difficult for dogs to understand why 1 minute you're saying, "Come puppy, that's a good puppy, stand there." How long do you think it's going to take that dog to totally hate the whole routine? A long time. I mean, a short time. The first session. Because dogs are pretty smart folks, you know. You don't think they're smart? Who works 8 hours a day to feed them? When I come back in the next show, when I come back in the next life, I'm coming back as a dog. Show dog. Big winner. Male. Now, you can do stack training in the morning, gait training at noontime. Stack training again in the afternoon. As long as you have at least an hour in between sessions. Once you get to the point that they stack well and they gait well, then you gradually bring the lessons closer and closer and closer together. So then you can go from stack to gait seamlessly. And that way the dog understands. Once you get to that point, and your dog goes from stacking to gaiting and back again seamlessly, your dog has learned his lessons well, you never practice at home again. Boy, that shoots down a lot of theory, doesn't it? You want to know why? Because it doesn't do any good. Because you're working your dog and practicing under ideal conditions. You tell me one show where you have ideal conditions. All further training, all further practice, and fine-tuning is done at shows under dog show conditions. There are thousands and thousands of backyard champions. How many times have you heard, well, he shows fine at home? Have you heard that? There's only one problem with that. Judges do not make house calls. Judges do not make house calls. Now, you have to use common sense. You have to use common sense with your dog, which I know is difficult, because Mark Twain said common sense isn't very common anymore. But you have to have common sense. How many people here play with their dogs before they go in the ring? Most of you. You ought to be congratulated. You ought to be congratulated for ruining your dog. Think about this. You go to bring your dog in the ring. You're outside the ring playing with him. Telling him he's a good guy. Probably even giving him some food, huh? And you bring your dog into the ring. Stand there. How long is it going to take him to figure out he doesn't like it in the ring? Not very long. You should do the opposite. When I was handling my assistant, we'd hold the dog outside the ring. Very confined. Very strictly. And when it come time to go in the ring, I'd walk over, take the lead, and boom, the dog would come alive because we're going in the ring and have fun. And you go in the ring and you have fun. The more fun you have in the ring, the more you're going to win, the more fun your dog is going to have, and the happier you're going to be. Yet I went to a dog show last week, 2 weeks ago, and in the afternoon I never saw so many unhappy people in my life at the end of the day. If you don't have fun, your dog's not going to have fun. If your dog doesn't have fun, you're not going to have fun. It works together. The ribbons, the 9-cent ribbons will take care of themselves. But go in the ring and have fun. Again, you got to use common sense. How many times have you set up at a dog show inside, and somebody sets their dog up right beside you, and their dog barks? About every 10, 15 minutes they come by and they reach in and they say, "That's a good boy, it'll be okay." So what are they doing? They're praising unacceptable behavior. You never praise unacceptable behavior. Never, 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 never. Because you're going to ruin your dog. Yet you go to a dog show, I see it all the time. Dog jumps up on somebody, that's okay, son, get down, that'll be, and you pet him. So when he wants to be loved, what's he going to do? He's going to jump up on you. Or I see somebody the dog is dragging them across the showgrounds, and so they pull him back. Now you be a good boy. So what is happening? You're praising unacceptable behavior. Now, this may get me in trouble. You can edit that out. And you may have to edit this out. But what invention has done more to screw up training than any one single invention? The flexi lead. God bless you, sir. The flexi lead. Dogs cannot understand why they can run around, be a complete idiot on the end of a flexi lead, and the next minute they're expected to be a show dog. You will never see a good professional handler with a dog on a flexi lead. And if you see somebody who calls himself a professional with a dog on a flexi lead, they are not a good handler. They're a wannabe, never going to be a handler. Now, you may not want to carry X-pens like handlers do to exercise your dogs. Fine. Then only use a flexi lead for your dog to go to the bathroom. Period. That's it. Yes, ma'am, you have a question?
At home for walks?
No. No flexi lead. For walks. There was a lady in town of Cary, North Carolina, was walking her English Cocker down the street. Dog was 15 feet out in front. She thought she had control. Squirrel ran across right in front. Dog turned left, ran out in the road, got hit by a car. You really don't have control of them. Use it only for going to the bathroom. The only thing that flexi lead has done is made it so you don't have to teach your dog to come when it's called. And it made things easier for you, huh? That's all you want, is you want things to be easier. Now, you had a question, young lady.
Well, it's going back to the play.
Yes, go back to playing.
In the ring, too.
Yes, you play.
Outside, besides
You don't play outside the ring.
you don't.
I just got finished saying no.
I'm saying, but what if you do both? Why?
No, I don't want you to do it outside the ring. I only want you to do it inside the ring. Because inside the ring, you are also going to be making your dog do things he may not necessarily want to do in the beginning. Outside the ring, no. Nada. Nada. Play with him while you're doing it.
Yeah, but after we're done.
No, why? Then they won't want to work. Just to give you an idea, I did a clinic for the Mile High Golden Retriever Club years and years and years ago. And we had, between the beginners and advanced class, about 29 or 30 Golden Retrievers. 29 or 30 Golden Retrievers that hated to be in the show ring. Absolutely hated being in there. They went around with their tails down, with their heads down, and people almost had to drag them around the ring. Yet after the class was over, they'd go out and throw boat bumpers and frisbees for them, and they went crazed. They had a ball doing it. So when I gave my lecture before I quit on Sunday night, I said, you folks have got to change your routine around. What you do is you take your dogs out and make them go after a boat bumper and a frisbee. And if they do it right, then you're going to let them play show dog. I came back the following year. I had 28 or 29 of the happiest, showingest Golden Retrievers, the same dogs. But all they did was change it around. All it is you change it around. What about handling classes? How long are you in the ring? During a handling class? How long? An hour. Training session should never be longer than 10 minutes. You just answered your question. Now, you can use handling classes to take your dogs to, pay your money, Tell your instructor you're just going to stand outside, let your dog get used to other dogs around and other noises and whatever. But for God's sake, do not go in that class and work your dog. You're ruining it. It's the reason why no dog was allowed to be here under a year of age. It's too hard on them. Yes, ma'am?
What is your feelings between obedience and confirmation when you're trying to train your dog?
Okay, what are my feelings on obedience and confirmation being done at the same time? Perfectly okay. I think you should do everything with your dog. I think you ought to do confirmation, you should do obedience, you should do agility. If you have terriers, do go to ground. Do tracking. Because the more fun you have with your dog, isn't that what it's supposed to be for? Companionship and have fun? Go do it. However, when you are teaching the basics of each skill, only do those basics, don't combine two of them. So in other words, if you have been doing obedience with your dog, and now you want to do confirmation, stop all obedience and only do confirmation until they know the basics. Leave a window of 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks. Then when you go to do agility, when you're teaching the basics in agility, leave a 2-week window open. That way you're not going to confuse your dog. Oh, by the way, there was one thing that I forgot to tell you. When you do the initial lead training on your dog, always train on a loose lead. Then you go to a tight lead if you need to. But it is very difficult to go from a tight lead to a loose lead, or it is more difficult. The initial lead training is always a loose lead. Yes, ma'am, you have a question.
At what age do you feel it's appropriate to start staff and lead training on a puppy?
4 weeks, 5 weeks. And then by 12 weeks, your dog should be completely show trained. If you're any good. Yes, ma'am.
So today, do we train them on a loose lead, or do we go like we are in the ring and do them on a tight lead
I do it the way you normally have been doing it.
at the show?
At the shows. There's some of you that I will change around and we'll make changes, but do what you've been doing. What I said is your initial training should be loose. I didn't necessarily say show loose all the time. I said train them loose first, then go to a tight lead. It's a lot easier to go from a loose lead to a tight lead than the other way around. Now, would you like to learn some magic? Because that's why you came here, wasn't it? For magic? You didn't come here to work. All right. Have you ever been in the ring, in a large class, or a group ring, and everything's working fine? Everything's working great. I mean, the dog's going well, you're doing well. You say, boy, I got this down. This is easy. And the judge makes a cut. And the judge pulls out 6 dogs on the diagonal. And it's all downhill after that. The great big long neck on that Irish setter becomes a turtle. And that beautiful top line on that Doberman now looks like an Italian Greyhound. And that beautiful front on that dog now goes like this. And this dog that has moved perfectly up until this time, rabbit hops all the way around the ring, jumping up, trying to grab your pocket. Have you ever had this happen? No, never. Yeah, right. Right. Can anybody tell me why that happens? It's caused by adrenaline. When the human being is stressed or apprehensive, their body produces adrenaline. Within 10 seconds after the adrenaline is injected into your bloodstream through the adrenal gland, the odor comes out in your breath. Dogs are affected unfavorably by the smell of adrenaline. This is the reason why people who are afraid of dogs always get bitten. So what do? You go out and invest in breath mints. No, you don't give it to the dog, ma'am. No. You take it. But something else happens too. Something else happens. Once that adrenaline hits, you lose all concept of time. All concept of time. This is the reason why you'll watch a dog show on TV, Westminster, and you'll see handlers or people show their dogs that are normally good handlers. And their hands are moving so quick, and they're doing everything so quick, and they're running here, and they're running there. Because all concept of time is gone. So the minute you feel yourself stressed, or you make the cut. When I made a cut in a group ring, or before I walked into Best in Show, I said to myself, self, half speed. Do everything half speed once you feel yourself stressed. It'll really be normal speed. It'll seem like forever for you to stack a dog. It'll seem like forever for you to gate your dog from one end to the other. But in reality, it will be normal speed. You may find yourself stressed when you wake up in the morning. Then do half speed all day. You'll know when you're stressed. But go into half speed mode. Between that and the breath mint, you would be surprised. It really make a lot of difference. Also, when the adrenal gland kicks in, your strength multiplies. You've read stories. Tree falls down on top of a child. Mother goes out and picks tree up. Normally, she would not be strong enough to pick that up. The adrenaline is a safety factor built into the human body to be able to do massive feats of strength for a short period of time. Be careful, because that little yank on that lead of that Pomeranian now is going bing all the way across the ring. I'm sure you've been at a show. Usually it's a puppy class or a novice class where you have novice people in there and you hear a scream coming from a dog. It's because that hand on the muzzle, they don't realize their own strength, and it now becomes a vice. Or you may have been in the ring and go to set your dog up. Normally the dog sets up beautifully for you. You're under stress. Adrenaline is kicked in. You reach down to pick up the dog's leg, and he pulls it away because you don't know your own strength. He thinks you're going to pull his leg off. So just be careful of that. Whenever you think that you're going to be stressed, pop a breath mint. If you're a little worried, pop one while you're grooming them.
What if you get like revved up? Can the dog tell that? I mean, does that perceive this tension to him?
No, it's the smell.
Okay, but I mean, if you're excited to be in the ring, do they sense that and then?
Not really.
Or do they just?
Not really.
Fear is what they-
It's not fear.
Well, okay,
They react unfavorably. What's happening is they're looking up at mom and they're saying, "Hey, what's wrong, mom?
Okay.
We have a problem here. What's your problem?"
Okay.
Mom's upset. The fact that you're excited, that won't make any difference. But the breath mint will calm you down, and then you go into half speed. Then that's going to calm you down.
If you just later had to put the dog at the same speed, so that the dog isn't going like this when you're at half speed.
Well, yeah, we're going to find you slow down buttons.
Okay, good. Thank you.
You know, as I told the people over here, I know more about your dog within 30 seconds What I'll do is I'll put my head down, they'll whisper in my ear, they'll tell me what the button is, and then I'll tell you. Yes. No, there was an article in the AKC Gazette, May Gazette, called The Dog Whisperer. It was a 4-page thing. But it's true. Okay, we're going to, yes ma'am, quickly.
You're going to tell us what you found out about our dog?
Yes! Oh, I will tell you. You know, I'll put my ear down, I'll say, he says that he likes this, and you'll do it, and it'll be like a shot out of a cannon. Or, to calm him down, he'll be perfect. We're going to teach you the one thing that'll solve every single problem that you have concerning showing dogs. I can't help you with all that other stuff. It'll solve every problem that you have concerning showing dogs. Control of the dog's head. Control of the dog's head. If you have control of the dog's head, you have control of your dog. But 90% of the people that walk in the ring showing a dog do not have control of their dog's head. Control the dog's head with a lead. Other than German Shepherds, the lead that you use, I don't care what you use, as long as when you roll it up, it's totally enclosed inside your hand, like so. There are some types of leads that I would advise against. I would advise against any lead made of nylon. Nylon, when you roll it up, you open your hand just a little bit, it'll explode right out of your hand. If your hand sweats, it'll slide and cut you. The other type of lead I would advise against are you people that have toy dogs, those spaghetti leads. It looks like pieces of spaghetti. I don't see how anybody controls the lead with that. I really don't understand. Also, you may use a choke, metal choke or a nylon choke, perfectly okay. However, never attach the lead to the choke with a clip. Those clips come undone. Then your dog goes running across the showgrounds. What you want to do is you want to loop a slip lead or the loop on the end of a lead through the ring on the choke, and then it won't ever come undone. Now, before you can learn to control your dog, you have to learn to control the lead. So what you do is you get some keys and put some keys on the end of your lead. You notice how these make noise. They make noise? Yes, they do. First thing you have to learn how to do is roll your lead up. That is not good. Or you get some people that say, okay, we have a loop in here. We need to use the loop. You laugh, but do you know how many people at dog shows do that? Or they'll put their thumb through the loop. Then how do they change hands? If their thumb is through the loop. Or you get the person that wants to save energy and roll it up quick. Or you get the accountant. That's what you do, huh? Yeah. Okay, the proper way to roll a lead up. You start off with the lead between your first finger and your thumb. Like this. And you rotate your wrist. And you roll it up. And then you unroll it. One loop at a time. And then you roll it back up again. And once you get good at doing it with one hand, then change to your other hand and roll it up. You should be equally proficient in both. And you practice this, and you practice this. And if you want to, if you're vacuuming, do it while you're vacuuming. Or you're raking leaves, or you're picking up dog poop. Or you're taking your dog for a walk. Practice with the other hand while you're walking your dog. You should be able to roll that lead up without even thinking. Without even thinking. Once you get to that point, you now have to learn how to gate your keys. We're not into a dog yet, because you're going to ruin your dog. Your keys. When you gate a dog, once you get the lead to the length that you want, the last loop, not the first loop, the last loop either goes over your thumb, and then you grasp the whole lead inside your hand, or it goes over your first finger, and you grasp the lead. Personally, I preferred over the first finger for two reasons. There'll be times when you're going to have to change hands in the ring. Now watch this. If I want to change hands, when people change hands, they lose control of the lead. It gets all discombobulated, right? If you hold the lead like this, if I run my pointer finger of the other hand up the lead to there, and then I tuck it, it's automatically in place exactly the same length. I run this finger up, and I tuck it, and it's in there in the right place. The other reason is, when I would be gating a dog around the ring, I would make minor corrections or adjustments. If you use your hand to make these adjustments, you have the chance of overcorrecting. And you're going to make it so your dog hates it. But I would make minor adjustments. I would use my ring finger and little finger on my lead hand, and I would make adjustments like that. Then I didn't have to move these muscles. When you're holding a lead, do not let your wrist do this. And also do not let your hold it coming out of the top of your hand with your wrist doing this. And I'm going to show you why. I want everybody here to take their left hand, hold it straight out, and take your wrist and bend it over, like so. Now take your right hand, and I want you to feel your muscle right here in your arm. Feel how tense that is? You can never be proficient in any physical endeavor with tense muscles. I don't care what it is, whether it's baseball, football, basketball, golf, tennis, even weightlifting, because it'll destroy you. Now, everybody take their wrist and hold it up like that. Now feel your arm. Feel how much softer it is? You'll have more control. The minute you do this, then you have muscles fighting against muscles, and now you're apt to overreact. Now, when you gate your keys or dogs, you have to make an adjustment. Now, I'm going to show you what happens without making an adjustment. Watch me run with my keys. And watch what happens to these keys without an adjustment. That's what happens to your dog's neck. That's why he hates you. Now, there are some folks that have figured out that they need to make an adjustment. And there's some weird stuff going on out there. But this is my favorite one. Have you ever seen anybody run with their dog like this? Have you seen that? Does that look stupid or what? That's weird. So what do? When you hold a lead, your forearm is level to the ground, whether it's a loose lead, like this, or it's a tight lead like that. Doesn't make any difference, loose lead or tight lead. This never moves. You want equidistant, you want equal range of motion, up or down. You don't want to go around the ring with it all the way up in the air like this, because if you have to pull back, you'll stand on your toes. Most people think loose lead means their hand at the side. Wrong. Loose lead means no pressure on the lead. This stays level. When you run or when you walk, normal for your body to go up and down. This is a natural phenomena of the human being. They have two legs. Their body goes up and down. You create a hinge here. So your body can go up and down, but this and this stays perfectly still. Now watch what happens when I do that. First of all, you have to have well-trained keys. Settle. Now my body's going up and down, isn't it? Did you hear the keys? It's easy. You practice this. Do not do this in public. What are you doing? I'm taking my keys for a walk. Once you have that down, and you do it well, the next step that you do is you run in a circle, keeping your keys quiet, and roll your lead up and roll it down at the same time. That's sort of like rubbing your belly, patting the top of your head, and chewing gum all at once. It's very, very easy. So everybody watch. Have you heard the keys yet? Have you? No. Now the next thing that you practice is even harder. Because you roll it up, and you roll it down, and every time it gets to the bottom, you take your little finger and make the keys make noise. Why are you laughing? It's not nice. Are you laughing at me? Just what? Okay? Practice this. And practice this. And practice this. Because this is the only, when a dog is in motion, this is the only contact that you have with your dog. Okay? Any questions? Good, that means everybody can do it. Right? No, we're not going to get you out here running around with keys. We're not going to do that. Okay. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to show you how to stack a dog. Do we have a golden retriever here that's well trained? That's been shown, that's a champion? Okay, could I use your golden retriever, please? coming into the ring is one of the most important things that you can do. The first thoughts that a judge has on a dog linger throughout the whole class. Number one, when you bring your dog into the ring, you bring your dog in at a trot. Your dog is always at a trot. You never walk into the ring. And yet, how many times have you watched, let's say this is the entrance to the ring, they say, okay, open dogs or open bitches, and people come into the ring like this. How often do you see that? All the time. Now, dogs look ugly when they walk. I want you to see this. Look at this dog walking. Doesn't that look beautiful and wonderful? Aren't you impressed? That is beautiful, isn't it? Now, we're going to bring the dog into the ring trotting. Slow to medium trot. You ready, girl? Let's go. Come on. Doesn't that look a little better? How many people here watch Westminster on TV or were there in person? When those dogs came in for Best in Show, how many of those dogs were walking? Why don't you folks learn from that? Maybe that's how they got there. How about in the group ring? When they brought the dogs in for each group, how many of those dogs were walking? Not one. Learn from that. Maybe that's how they got there. You never allow your dog to walk in the ring, period. Why pay $25 entry fee for your dog to look ugly?
What about when there's people before you that are so slow?
Let them go. You don't have to come in there and run up on top of them. Leave 10, 15 feet. I can bring a dog in. I can take a dog at a trot with a golden retriever like this just walking fast. I don't have to run like a mad banshee. Come on, girl. Come on. How does that look? Okay? But don't just walk in with them walking. Okay. When you come into the ring, if you're called in catalog order, that's self-explanatory. If you are not told to come in catalog order by the judge or the steward, then you have to pick your spot in line. The primary concern is how fast does your dog go. The faster your dog goes at a trot, the more towards the front of the line you should get. The slower your dog goes at a trot, the more towards the end of the line. People fight to be first in line. And that is so stupid. I used to hate to be first in line. Do you realize the person that's first in line, that is the only dog that the judge sees being physically stacked? All the other dogs in the class are stacked behind the judge's back while the other dog is being gated. Also, I didn't want to be first in line. I wanted to have a dog in front of me so my dog could chase it. Oh, let me get it. Yeah. Yes, sir?
What if you know that your dog is going to be probably the fastest dog in the ring?
All right, then you get up there near the front if you want to. But fast is not always better. When you come into the ring, unless told differently by the ring steward, the first person in line goes to the first corner that the whole class can get in without blocking the entrance to the ring. Unless told differently, first person, if it's a class of 5, first person in line comes down here. If there's no mats, you stop 5 feet from the edge of the ring. You stack your dog going in this direction. The second dog in line, you want 3 feet from the dog in front of you to your dog's nose. Now remember, if it's a breed that the tail gets held out straight, it's 3 feet from your dog's nose to that dog's tail. The next dog in a straight line, 3 feet between dogs, and stack your dog, and so forth. If it's a class of 10, 10 dogs wouldn't fit in here. So the class of 10, you would gate your dog in, if that's the entrance to the ring, you would gate your dog in and around to that corner. And you would start the line at that corner. You want the whole class to be able to come in without blocking the entrance to the ring. Now, let's say the first 4 or 5 dogs come to here. For some reason, everybody wants to go catty corner across the corner. Never do that. You're putting yourself in a position to get boxed out. The person behind you can come forward. The person in front of you can back up. Bingo, judge doesn't see your dog. So you're either here or you are on this side here. And then continue on. A class of 20, like we have in here for each one of these classes, probably you're going to have to go all the way around to that corner over there. Never turn your dog at an angle. Always straight on. If you turn your dog at an angle, most judges will think you're trying to hide a bad hindquarter. Or they think that you're trying to make the dog shorter than he really is. They think you're going to try, that you're trying to hide a fault. Get into the habit of bring your dog in straight. One of the breeds that are really, really bad on this is Great Danes. They bring their dogs in, they go almost like at a 45-degree angle. And judges hate it. Also, not any closer than 3 feet. If you get closer than 3 feet to the dog in front of you, it makes your dog look ugly. Ideally, you want the judge to isolate on your dog. If you're closer than 3 feet to the dog in front when the judge is standing here looking at your dog, the dog in front of you is always in the picture. When that dog is in the picture, it disrupts your picture. It makes your dog look bad. If you want to err on too far. Go 4 feet. But never closer than 3 feet unless the judge tells you to squish up because it's a big class in a small ring. Only then do you squash up. Other than that, also, too, any closer than 3 feet is bad sportsmanship. Now, I always get questions, well, what happens if somebody crowds me? It's your fault. It's your fault. Because that person is crowding you outside the ring. Think about it. When you're coming in the ring, they're crowding you. So when you feel somebody crowding you, or you know that somebody is known for crowding, instead of leaving 3 feet, leave 5 feet. And then you look back and you say, gee, I'm sorry I didn't leave enough room behind me. I'll move up and you stay right there. Now, the sad part is if they're stupid enough to crowd you, they're not smart enough to understand that you just shot them down with a slick knife.
What exactly does that mean?
Well, there's 2 different places where they get breed type. One is head and expression, and the other is breed type in motion. And then there's a third, there's body type. So there's actually 3. Most people think of breed type only being just head, expression, and body type. But then you have breed type in motion. For instance, a golden retriever looks totally different going around the ring than an Irish setter does, than an English Springer does, than a Cavalier does. Even though the legs are doing exactly the same thing. Yes, ma'am?
What do you do if you really want to hide a kind of yucky rear?
What do you do if you want to hide a yucky rear?
If you don't put them on an angle?
You never hide faults.
Okay.
The minute you hide a fault, you lose. I used to stand outside the ring watching my competitors. And if I see somebody working on trying to get a front set up right, I got them beat. I have them beat. Because the minute you think negatively, you lose. You lose. Because your whole thoughts are on that fault. And it's just going to go right to the judge. It's going to go right to the judge. You're a fool if you go in there to hide faults. You go in the ring, you set the one faulty part up once, get it as good as you can, and leave it the heck alone. And then show the rest of your dog. But the minute you go in negatively, you've lost the whole ball of wax. You've taken your entry fee, thrown it down the sewer. I'll tell you that right now. I used to get a big kick out of watching my competitors, my peers, trying to hide faults. The minute I saw one of them trying to hide a fault, I knew I had him beat. I just did. I don't care how good his dog was. I didn't pay any attention to him the rest of the time I was in the ring because I knew I had him beat. Just like that. And then I get a little sneer on my face. Now, the other mistake while we're on this kick, the other mistake owner handlers make, and most professionals, is they show dogs in response mode, reactionary mode. They react on the dog. They react on what their dog gives them, which means they're one step behind. I show dogs proactively. I acted upon my dog. If you don't do anything to that dog until he does something, he's going to get you in trouble. He's going to say, aha, what can I do to screw this guy up? Oh, I'm going to do this. I'm going to duck my head and get that piece of cheese. But if you were constantly acting upon your dog, and you have in your mind what you want your dog to do, he doesn't have time to get in trouble because he's reacting to what you do. So always show your dog proactively, not reactionary. Anybody here ride horses? What would happen if you rode a horse reacting to what your horse gave you? Wouldn't last very long, would you? You're gone. Same thing with dogs. Because if you're not constantly doing something with those reins on that horse or with your legs or whatever, and you give him time to think, he's got you. Same thing with the dog. Same thing with the dog. Always proactive. Go in with a game plan. Now, how do you learn this game plan? How do you learn this? Psycho-cybernetics. There's a book out by Dr. M.A. Maltz called Psycho-cybernetics. And what it is, it teaches you the power of the brain. Dr. Maltz did a series of experiments where he had picked a simple skill exercise like throwing darts. And he took 300 people and he scored them. The first 100 people, he said, go home for 30 days, don't do anything. Took the second 100 people and said, go home, I want you to practice physically a half hour a day, throwing darts to increase your skills. Took the third 100 people and they said, I want you to sit down 10 minutes a day, close your eyes, and picture yourself throwing darts. 10 minutes a day. 30 days later, he brought them back. The people that had not had any practice at all, their scores didn't change. The people who had practiced physically 30 minutes a day, their scores went up 10%. The people who practiced mentally for 10 minutes a day with their eyes closed, the scores went up 20 to 25%. So you say, okay, that's cool. I don't want to throw darts, I want to show dogs. How am I going to use this for showing dogs? What you do is 10 minutes a day, 5 minutes a day. You sit down, close your eyes, picture yourself showing a dog, and put yourself into every adverse condition that can happen. Dog goes too fast. Dog goes too slow. Dog falls down in ring. Handler falls down in ring. Dog pukes in ring. Handler pukes in ring. But the whole idea is you want to solve the problem before it happens. So you have mentally solved your problem. So you don't have to think about it. You don't have to say, oh, what am I going to do now? It's already solved. So you can act on it immediately. Then you gradually grow from there once you get used to this. And before important shows, well, actually in the beginning, before each show, sit down an hour before you go in the ring, close your eyes, and show your dog in the ring that you're going to be in with that competition and know exactly what you're going to do. It's called psycho-cybernetics. I would be at a specialty show. There was one instance where it was an English Springer National Specialty up in Connecticut. And on the grounds there was a motel. So somebody came up to my assistant and said, "Where's George?" I said, "Oh, he's back in the room taking a nap." Well, first of all, that psyched out the competition. But no, what was I doing? Psycho-cybernetics. At the garden before group time, I'd be up in the cheap seats, all the way up on top. I wouldn't eat dinner. I'd sit up there, psycho-cybernetics. And every move I made in the ring was basically choreographed. I made no movement in that ring that did not have an absolute distinct purpose, and I knew I was going to do it before it happened. This is how you guys get better. Psycho-cybernetics. Okay. Any questions on this? Yes, ma'am.
The author of that book?
Dr. M.A. Maltz, M-A-L-T-Z. You probably are wondering why I've been lecturing you for this length of time. Are you not? You think you know, right? Well, let me tell you why. Let me tell you a little story. My oldest daughter, Jennifer, my youngest daughter, Jennifer, is a school teacher. And her first day on the job, or her first year of teaching, she teaches high school biology in her city. And she, being the new kid on the block, was given remedial math class. And after 2 weeks, she called me in tears. She says, "I can't reach these kids. Inner city kids, remedial math. Do we have any school teachers here?" That's a tough teach, isn't it? She says, "What am I going to do, Pops?" I said, "They don't teach you this in college?" And she said, "No." I said, "All right, let's take it away from the classroom. When you go to train a dog, what's the first thing that you do?" And she thought for a moment, and she says, You create a desire to learn. I said, bingo. Until you create that desire, you can do all the teaching in the world and it won't do you any good at all.